to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane, starring Ryan Rash.
The reason I don't roast as many people as I should is because there are laws against burning trash.
And Dale Hummel.
God made heaven and earth. The rest was made in China.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, alongside co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Ryan, it's a snowy, icy, cold. The North is not cooperating.
Yeah, well, I've heard that, and I'm a little concerned because, on Sunday, it's supposed to be -1 in parts of Texas, but I have to go, do a week-long county fair judging stint, and so I didn't think I was going to have to go to, Sunday, but now I'm thinking I might have to leave early so I can make it up there. I don't know. This is going to be a mess.
It is going to be a mess. I haven't seen this cold of temperatures up here for this extended of period. We're in the -5, 6, 7, 8 at night with wind. It's bad, and I don't see any relief for a couple weeks. Do you want to know some good news?
What?
We keep talking about how we want life to get back to normality. Wouldn't that be? I mean, I miss it. I truly miss it. I have one step further towards normality. Would you like to ask me what it is?
You got your COVID shot. We know.
I got my COVID shot. It is good. It is good. I have been vaccinated. I do have to get another one. I do have my vaccination card right in front of me. I'm looking at it as I speak.
I'm surprised you haven't matted that thing and put it in a frame and gold leafed it or whatever else. So
what's interesting to me is I really am excited that people are starting to get vaccines. There's a lot of stock shows in some parts of the country that are just going almost normal. That's all good. I do.
Which
hope
ones are those?
Primarily Oklahoma. They seem to be just going. And you hear about it here and there in other spots. Mississippi's going strong. They just had the Dixie National with.
Well, the Dixie National's still going, but it's not normal. Have you ever been to the Dixie National?
I have been there a few times.
I was say there ain't much normal at the Dixie National,
but I don't think there's a lot of COVID. I could be wrong. I didn't ask, but I don't.
They don't have
think
to
the
wear
COVID
masks?
restrictions. I don't know. I can't answer that. I assume they're wearing some masks, but I do not know that. I know that.
See, Dale and his liberal tendencies once again are shining through. See, Dale's to the point now that wearing a mask is not a COVID restriction.
Oh, it is.
So that doesn't even matter to him anymore. That's just normal.
We do not want to talk about who's trying to give our president a chance.
You are the one that evidently mask restrictions are normal to you. So that's just normal. Which, by the way, did you know that the CDC today has now said that it requires 2 masks?
2 masks. I noticed some of the data about these cotton masks.
No.
I
The
wear.
CDC
changed
their recommendations today. Now it's 2 masks.
Well, you better get you another one.
Yeah, I'm not going.
They may not let you get on the airplane without another, but if you had a vaccination card, it's like the gold card. You go anywhere you want.
I don't think that changes whether you have to wear 1 or 2 masks or not.
I don't either, but when does it start that we've got to take the COVID test at the airport? I haven't seen. I know it's coming, but I don't know when.
I haven't heard anything about a deadline. But so your 2 masks, Dale, is this going to be one of them, Magnum 95 things and then a cloth one? Or are you going to do that and a face shield? What is going to be your 2 mask relationship scenario?
I don't see that requirement being implemented in very many places outside of the airplane, and that's the only place I've seen them crank down hard. I mean, and Ryan, you would know as well as anybody, they really don't tolerate it on the airplanes, even down below your nose.
No, but
so
they haven't told me to wear 2 masks yet. I wait till I can. If they try to, then we gonna have problems.
I'm telling you, if that's there, that's the only place I've seen. And I'm not saying that they don't enforce it when we go into stores and things, but in terms of just absolute enforcement, that's where I see it, is on the airplanes. On a more positive note, when I've already been vaccinated through what's called critical workers because of farm production, I assume is why I got in. But in our county, there were probably 70 slots open the other day, and I bet there wasn't maybe 20 slots that were actually taken. So people are choosing not to get vaccinated. I think a lot of the older population is not aware of how to sign up for the vaccine. It's a mess. But let's hope that those older and more vulnerable can get the places where they're giving the vaccines. They're aware of it. I hope all those things are taking place. And I hope our government pulls its head out of its ass and starts providing whatever they need for those that are older, those that have secondary conditions, in my opinion, they should be allowed to make whatever choice they want, whether they want to stay home or go out and work. It's their choice, but if they choose to stay home, I'd much rather funnel resources to them than the damn Chicago school unions. That's starting to wear on me a little bit, Ryan. Beetlejuice is trying to get the unions back. This may be the first time I could even listen to Beetlejuice and say, well, it appears to be good, but she's the one I think that gave him the green light to stay out of school. Now she's pushing him back into school.
Well, at least she's going the right direction.
She is, but just think about the Democratic Party. Over 98% of the teacher union political contributions go to Democrats. We know the students' parents are wanting them back in school. A lot of those are probably Democrats. A lot are probably Republicans, or both. But you have the Democratic Party sitting there thinking, oh, I can't go against the union. I can't go against all these parents. They're kind of in a bad way right now. They're torn. They don't know how to do it.
I think it's great.
I did hear some of the negotiations for the Chicago school systems to open. They're talking late March with restrictions or stipulations that they can only have a positivity rate of a certain amount and only so many students per week. With what they have in place, it's going to still be shut down. They may go back one day and it's over. My fear is the Democratic Party is going to try to appease everybody, make the parents happy by saying teachers get back in the classroom. And then they're going to throw so much money at those unions. A lot of that donation money that they brought in times 10 is going to go back to the unions to appease them. And it's just, it's sickening.
So are you done now? Because I've got like real important stuff that affects the nation to talk about.
What? Go ahead.
Are you done now with your Chicago Beetlejuice nonsense?
Yeah,
because there's real stuff in the world, Dale, that matters to people.
I have not got to China yet. I do have that on my list today.
Oh, Lord.
But go ahead. Have at it.
How about Mark Cuban saying that the Dallas Mavericks will no longer play the national anthem before home games?
Do you want me to tell you what I think of that?
Evidently, it didn't mean it's not important to you, like wearing two masks, because you didn't bring it up.
That bothers me far more than two masks. I don't like the two masks, but this eats at me. That's over the edge.
Yeah, and the NBA told him that he was going to have to basically go get, I can't say this word because whatever, but because the NBA today said that there will be the national anthem at all games now.
And what was his justification? I apologize. I did not catch that.
When it got out that he had made that decision, and the only comment he had that decision rested solely with him, and he was the one that made it, and he gave no further comment. Now, today, when the NBA countered him and said that, no, if you're going to play a game, then you're going to play the national anthem, his only comment was, we're good with it.
I don't know what he could justify, how he could justify that one. That is insane.
That's in Texas. Does this man want to die?
I don't understand it. And, I consider him a fairly intelligent person until recently, and he's gone off the deep end.
And I am not a big professional sports person, obviously, but I do not know any event that anybody is like, why would you go pay money to go to anything where they are telling you we are not going to play the national anthem? That is ludicrous.
I would think that there would be very few people attending. Wouldn't you assume?
I guess he doesn't care. He had to think about that.
There's something we're missing here. I can't. No intelligent person is going to make that decision. Impossible.
And this is another thing. Tom Brady told everybody on his team that if any of them didn't go out for the national anthem or kneeled, he would walk. And, of course, they didn't. And they won the Super Bowl. And then the other thing, again, I'm not like a sports person. All these people bashing Tom Brady, I don't get. Like, he's 43. He's won 7 Super Bowl championships. I don't know how many times he's been in the Super Bowl. And this is just the classic haters gonna hate. I mean, how
it is that within his given
all
profession,
that is.
you can't accomplish more within a given profession of any profession. You just can't.
Again, I don't know what it takes to do what he does, but Jesus Christ, he is freaking good at it.
And you don't even know about football and you think he's good at it.
I mean, like, I want to be on Tom Brady's level in what I do. Like, that's it. Period. I just can't believe that there are people out there that will just actively bash him as much as that's neither here nor there. But I just want to tell you about your sports teams because I know you're a big sports fan, and a lot of people out here are. So that is the gays' contribution to the sports world for 2021 was right there, people. I hope you.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Do you know anything about Trump's impeachment?
Yes, that was the other thing that I felt was important and needed to come out here.
I don't see any relevance in it at all. I'm out. It has no impact on me. Well, it should have no impact on anybody.
Well, they tried to get it shut down as unconstitutional, and it was voted that it is constitutional, 56-44. And so those 6 Republican senators that sided with the Democrats. Good luck to y'all getting reelected. But anyway,
I would like a list of those. You don't know them.
I actually did read over them. It's Romney, Collins, Toomey. There was one from Louisiana. I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Are you serious?"
I can't imagine Romney.
That sumbitch is going to be alligator food when he goes home after this.
And rightfully so. He needs to be alligator food.
There were 6. The ones did not surprise me, except for the guy from Louisiana. I never heard his name before, but I was like, "You literally gonna get fed to stuff in the swamp, dude." But
maybe he had a good reason. Maybe.
I guess my biggest deal is the last time that they impeached President Trump. I don't remember exactly what the price tag was, but I think it was like close to $30 million.
I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
and we're doing this again. And last time there was no question over whether it was constitutional. This time we even had a question over whether it's constitutional, and only 6 Republicans thought that it was even constitutional. So again, he's not getting impeached. So,
and what's amazing to me is and I'm gonna point at fingers at both sides, even though I strongly agree and know where I would vote on 99% of the issues, but it doesn't seem to matter what the issue is. We are absolutely divided on that political line, with the exception of a few strays. That's not a good place to be. Nobody's thinking for themselves. We're nothing but partisan politics.
No, and I'm not like taking up for them, but think of everything we've been through in the past 2 years. The line's kind of drawn in the sand here.
No, and you know what? Maybe right now, instead of partisan politics, the people on either side, I'm going to say they probably believe what they're voting and believe what they're doing. I think the Democrats have lost their minds. I think they're crazy. I think Joe Biden's taken us down a path that I do not approve of in any manner whatsoever. I think he's already trying to undo most of what Trump has done, primarily through 40-something executive orders.
No, sir. That was last week.
Oh, sorry. Is he added to it?
Oh, God, yes.
It's unbelievable. And the contradictions that we hear from him, China's not a threat. They're nothing. They're not competition.
Well, before you get on China,
I'm about to.
I know.
I'm about to go down that path.
Before I want to make one more thing about impeachment public here. So, in case nobody understands why they're doing this, they are doing this because if Trump was convicted of this impeachment, then they could see about there's a amendment or something that it would have to come up to a vote to see if he could ever hold office again. Not if he got convicted, he couldn't. They would have to vote again on that. That is how stupid this is, people. We are literally holding an impeachment trial to possibly get a conviction, so then we would have to vote on something else so he could not run for office again.
And the constitutionalists say that's a very gray area as well. But I think that's what the Dems are holding on to. And
no, that's they went over it today. But that is why we're doing this.
And I think it's questionable at best.
And again, it would have to be a 3/4 vote.
It's just not going to happen. Let's just get past it, guys. Let's move. Let's go.
The $20 million and just whoop, done. But there we go. Okay, now I'm done.
It is painful.
I wanted to get relevant things out there to most of the people in the U.S. instead of just Illinois. But now you go ahead and talk about China.
And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on China, but it does frustrate me that there is zero accountability around the world and your president, the one that you're giving a chance to, Mr. Biden, you know he's not going to hold them accountable in any manner.
No, they dropped the whole thing yesterday.
Yeah,
I sent it to you.
It's no good.
I knew it would get you super worked up. I was so excited to send it to you. I'm not gonna lie. I thought maybe you'd have a minor wreck on a gator when
you were hoping.
I was.
But when they're running amok right now, they're going to do anything and everything they want. Joe might say something, little lip service, but they know they're not. He's not going to hold them accountable. There's absolutely nothing going to be done. They're pushing the limits on every avenue, and it's not going to stop. And I don't have a solution.
If there was any doubt that he's not the puppet of your Mr. China, I don't know what his damn name is, Zen Shin, whatever, Zoolander, Ramen Noodle, I don't know what his name is. But anyway, yesterday the World Health Organization basically said that Dale's favorite country and people did not release the coronavirus. It was all by mistake and all this other stuff. And so our illustrious president just said, yep, that's right. That's it. So we're dropping all investigations.
And I don't know the number, but how much money are we putting back into the World Health Organization? We're supporting the bulk of the costs there.
Oh, yeah, because Trump had taken, quit giving them money over.
Yep, he pulled it all out, and Biden threw it right back at him.
Oh, a lot, too. I don't remember what the figure is, but it's a lot.
And the rest of the world expects us to carry the bill on these type of things. Mm-hmm. I am so far out, I can't even explain it. And where Biden's taken us down the path on that, it's just ignorance. I don't know if he's indebted to China. I have no idea. I just think he's lost his mind. I think he's senile. I think he's being manipulated. Maybe it's because of Hunter's. I don't have any idea. It's just not a good path. And I don't know what to do about it. And I'm hoping that somehow we get through the next few years and somehow we can turn things around and put somebody back into office that's actually going to stand up. And
well, I'm going to say something and you're going to have a heart attack, and most of the people that listen to this are going to have a heart attack, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Oh, don't do it. Just don't. Don't you tell me about Biden being something good.
No.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm going to say this. I've been treasonous and I don't know whatever. So
I'm about to jump on their bandwagon. I'm about there.
I get all the hate mail, whatever. I will tell you right now, I do think Camel Toe Harris would do a better job as president than Biden. Yep.
I don't even know how to react.
You want to know why?
Sure.
Because she would want to be reelected.
I can accept that. I think she's more coherent, I guess, maybe is the best way to put it. I think she kind of knows what's going on around her. I think
she's naturally, and in her, she probably has less morals. She's definitely more radical and crazy and out there, but she would want to be reelected. He is just doing whatever in the blank, beep, whatever he wants to because he can.
I'm not going to argue that fact on her wanting to be reelected. I'm not going to argue the fact that she's more cognitively capable, maybe is the best way to put it. And I do believe her values go farther left. I think she's more radical.
I'm not saying that. I agree completely on that. I still think she would stay more in check because she would want to be reelected. And not only would it, if he gets removed because he's crazy or somebody shoots him or whatever else, she could run 2 more times. So this would be she would have to be even more in check.
Like an 11-year plus term, possibly.
Well, I mean, whenever, but since she was not at the top of the ticket this time, if she became president during this term, she would still have be eligible to be president for 8 years. So that's why I think she would be a better president, because she would not be doing the wild ass shit we're seeing Creepy Joe do right now, because she would be thinking about being reelected.
I can accept that, but my argumentative defense is she was pretty out there in the primary. I know she's talking to.
That's why she got 1% of the vote.
Yeah, so I don't know if she would change. I think she chose that direction thinking it was the correct direction. I like your theory if it's an intelligent person.
See, but it's one of those things, though, that, I think when she ran, she really didn't think there was any chance in hell because she only got 1% of the vote. She's that close right now, at least the people around him be like, okay, if you just like hold off and not be a complete insane stupid bitch for like a couple of years, then we could have power for 4 more years.
I don't feel well.
I'm just saying.
We need to move off this topic.
One other thing, and I'll leave you alone. I have figured out how to solve the Keystone Pipeline situation.
Please tell us, please.
Put Hunter on the board. Then he will automatically reinstate it.
That's pretty good. I don't know where you stole that one, but it's pretty good.
That is my solution for everything else that Joe screws up the next 4 years. If it's that detrimental, put Hunter on the board and he will put it back.
I love it. And I appreciate you finally have turned the corner on your president, Joe.
He is my president, but he is an insane idiot.
You're officially no longer giving him more chances.
No, I told you. I thought I could give him a month. Originally, I can't. I tried, but no.
That's good. We're going to get along much better.
I tried. I really did, and he is still my president. I will never say that he's not my president or any of that other bullshit like all those anti-Trumper people did. He is the president of the United States. I just think he's a super shitty one.
I'm with you. We agree on that 100%.
There you go.
Today's topic's going to be good, Ryan. I'm excited about it.
Again, because I picked it, but next.
No, this was all me.
No, it was. Dale, do not lie to these people. You have not picked a topic since October.
I believe this one was mine.
No, it was not. Do you want me to screenshot the list of topics I sent you in Clifton? I have it time-stamped and dated on there. And put it on Facebook for the world to say, sir, you better not, because then you're going to be a liar.
Did we not talk about this when we talked about social media etiquette?
No, right. We did not.
Okay, so in case they don't know what the topic is, and it is a good one. It is a really good one. I think everybody's going to relate to it. Topic for today is show ring etiquette. Where do we want to start with it? I think we should start with the kids.
First off, I do think it's a topic that relates to everybody because it's not just limited to a judge or an exhibitor or a manager. I mean, even people standing there spectating, everybody has a different set of etiquette that they should try to follow. I'm not saying we do, but we should try. And so that's why when I came up with the topic, unlike Dale, I thought it would be a good one. And so it just depended on it again. I think there are things that we need to do as judges, and we covered a whole lot of that last week, so probably won't talk of that as much, but I think if you're a show manager or a ring steward or a volunteer, there's an etiquette that you probably need to follow. If you're a showman, there's an etiquette you need to follow. And if you're on the outside of the ring as a parent, cheerleader, a breeder or broker fitter, there's an etiquette you need to follow there as well, too. And so I'm not going to say anybody's going to do as we say, but this is what we think how you should act.
And we are strong in our opinion and conviction to this is how we believe it to be. It may not be right, but this is what we truly believe.
Oh, no, I think I'm right. I just don't know if everybody's going to do it.
Let's start with the kids.
Okay. I think that a lot of times, and again, I'm not picking on the kids now. I think actually right now there are better showmen than ever before, like those ones. But I think as a overall whole, I think we've got pretty laxed in some things that used to be commonplace when you were in a ring. And so in terms of being a showman, I think the first thing that every kid needs to know is when a person in the ring that's the judge or a ring steward, anybody addresses them, asks them a question, talks to them, first off, you need to respond. I know that sounds dumb, but you really need to give a response. And I think it needs to be a respectful response, like, yes, sir, or no, ma'am. Things like that go a long way. And just being respectful to those people, because at that time when you're an exhibitor in the ring, whether it's the judge or volunteers, they are there to oversee. They are in charge. So therefore, you need to be respectful of them. And a lot of times that doesn't happen.
They are there to provide an experience for these youth, to allow it to happen. And not only yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, look them in the eye, be genuine, be sincere about this. This is part of life, and this is something that we need to ingrain. I have a quick story about this yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Well, I've got a quick story, too, about, like, asking after yours. Like, just, like, when I said respond, I mean, like, you need to respond. But go ahead, Dale.
And it's a little bit of a north-south thing. And Ryan and I have discussed this a little bit before. In the South, it's more common for kids to address parents and others with ma'am or sir. My wife, Holly, and I have chose to raise our children to address adults and others in that same manner. But it's very unusual up here. I'm not saying other kids are disrespectful or anything, because it's just not something that's taught or encouraged. But we made the choice to do that. And we do get quite a few compliments from other adults that our children are very respectful. And I think a lot of it leads into that, and I hope in other areas as well. But I do have a problem. I could go on way too long, and I'm going to try to simplify it. There are more than one teacher at our children's school that when they're addressed as ma'am or sir, particularly now by our two younger kids, they have told our kids that they would prefer to not be addressed in that manner, that they did not feel comfortable doing so. And almost to the point, and my kids are so used to doing it, it was hard for them to stop, to the point where it was a little bit of a problem. And I made a comment to him. I said, I have no issue standing up for you if you're sent to the office for telling somebody or addressing them as ma'am or sir. It's very interesting to me. Maybe it's just the north-south. Maybe it's the cultural thing. I don't understand. But it's crazy to me to think that anybody would ever discourage something like that. But I believe that that's the direction maybe we're going in this country.
Well, that is just beyond crazy. I don't understand that at all. And I address people my age that I don't know when I first, even people that are like working adults and stuff like that. First, nice to meet you, sir. Nice to meet you, ma'am. And like some ladies think that makes them seem old. So that, oh, don't call me ma'am, call me so-and-so. So after the first time, sure. I was raised, no matter what the situation, how are you, sir? How are you, ma'am? Except that's just how I was brought up. And so when I get called sir or ma'am, to be honest, I don't.
Yeah, I don't know which way to go with you.
Yeah, thanks, Dale. But anyway, I don't get offended either way. I don't think that makes me seem old or anything like that. I just think it's respectful. But talking about stuff like this, I was at a show a couple winters ago, and I always try to talk to kids and stuff like that, and talking about being respectful and like having responses. A kid walks in and had a really good steer, and I said, well, what's your steer's name? And this child said, well, why does that matter? I said, excuse me? And they said, why does steer's name matter? I said, I think it's a really good calf. I just want to know what you named it. I don't think that's important. I was like, alrighty then. Okay.
And I may not think a name on a calf is important either, but we have to implement a little bit of common sense.
I don't care if they thought it was important or not. I'm the judge that day. If I ask you what the sum of 2 plus 2 is, you need to come up with something.
Yeah, that's kind of goes just back to street sense. You need to be a little street smarter than that.
So again, when you're out there and you're being an exhibitor, let's be respectful. Let's give responses and try to have a little common sense. Because everybody that follows me on social media, they know that I have zero poker face. And I will be real honest, the reason that I have quit asking questions, especially in particular in showmanship, is because I have no poker face and we used not to have masks. And so when I would ask questions and answers would come out and they would be really bizarre or really wrong, I would never be able to hide my expression. And so that's why I don't ask those questions anymore. But when you are asked something, even if you don't know the answer, instead of making something up or just coming up with something, just say, you know what? I honestly do not know the answer to that question, and I am sorry, but I will know next time.
I think that's a great response. And when they guess and you know they're guessing and they get it wrong,
it's bad.
It goes kind of the wrong. It is. And if you just come out and say, sir, I apologize. I do not know the answer to that, but I'll darn sure know next time. I don't even know that it hits them at all. I'm great with it.
No, I think that's the perfect response. I mean, like, not everybody knows everything, but like, if you don't know, just say you don't know. It's way better than like sitting there stammering, and then coming up with something that you've pulled out of your ass isn't complete.
And even if they stutter and stammer and get it right, they're just guessing anyway.
So that's like when you're talking to people out there. I think another thing in terms of being a showman and etiquette that we've kind of got laxed on is a lot of times, and this doesn't happen in pigs, but it happens in sheep and goat and cattle. The one in front of you won't go. And we all know that like every show tries to have ringmen and all this, but if the one in front of you is stopped, try to help that exhibitor out because the ringman may be on somebody else's animal at that time. Try to help that one out, either twist the tail or, slap it along, do whatever. And like when I see that as a judge, I think that's a good kid right there trying to help her or his fellow person out there, fellow showman out in the ring. And that goes a long way with me. On the same token, I will tell you something that goes a long way the other way is when one stopped and some kid just pulls out and jets right on past that sucker and nothing. That goes the wrong way.
Okay, I want to intersect there a little bit. I'm with you, and you know what? When I see that, I think, wow, that's a good kid, and subconsciously, it's going to probably affect things. Obviously, in showmanship, I'm going to score some points there. In the show, do I let it affect where they place? Not knowingly, but that doesn't mean that I don't because I think that's a good kid, and if it's close, guess what? It goes towards a good kid. It just is. Now, the pulling around and going in front of them. If it's one where you've tried, the ring help's tried, and it just ain't going.
No, you didn't let me finish. No, I agree.
Okay.
If it's just not happening, then yes. But a lot of times when I see that, I will walk up to that kid and I say, do you think that animal will lead if we put another one in front of it? Or a kid, I was a showman, even in open shows. This is how I said, you think if I go around, it will lead for behind mine better? But do that. That's fine. Do not just good, just without nothing. Like that's
now,
just rude.
In the goat ring, I've seen kids do that, and they did it with the intent of going in front of them and helping. That a lot of times, maybe a younger kid, an older one goes around them, so that hopefully that other goat will follow. So I'm going to take each incident as an individual, and
I agree that you can take them on an individual basis, but if you want to sit here and tell me that you haven't seen a kid just blow ass past another kid who was stalled out in the ring and didn't try to help, then I'm going to tell you you're wrong because I've seen it and I know it was intentional.
I'm sure that I've seen it. Something that bothers me more, and you and I have discussed this a little bit, and we both are on the same page on this one. And Ryan and I discussed this a little bit, I don't know, last week or a few days ago. Whatever happened, and I wasn't aware it wasn't happening as much as what Ryan is, and he's out on the road every week sorting these shows. But whatever happened to bringing these exhibitors up and watching those first couple classes, if you're not in it, just to understand how the flow needs to go for that judge or that ring help?
That is dead. It does not happen anymore.
I don't believe that's not happening.
It is dead.
I cannot believe that.
I'm telling you.
But you're right. When I get in, even in the showmanship, I'll get into one of those senior classes, and we've been working on this for a couple hours out here, and they'll come in and they don't even know which way to go around the ring.
No.
And I'm looking at them thinking, why bother stepping into this ring if you haven't been on the sideline watching and maybe listening to what I would like to have done? It just doesn't make sense. And I'm not just talking, it doesn't make sense to succeed and use showmanship in the stock show world. But guess what? This applies to life. We just need to pay more attention to things and better position ourselves to succeed. Because if you don't, I think once you get out of mom and dad's care, you're going to get run over.
And I don't know where this got lost in translation, but I was taught, every kid that I have ever helped was taught, if you're not in the first class, we will all be up there and we will watch the first class so we see how those animals are going in the ring, where they're going to stop them on rear view, where they're going to stop them on side view, which way they're going to lead them around. Is he pulling top to bottom or is he pulling bottom to top? These are all very important things that you need to know. I don't care what size the show is. These are things that are essential.
It's just automatic.
This does not happen as much as it needs to anymore. And it is something that is very, very disturbing to me. And because I do judge every weekend, I do see class after class after class. And now it's almost every other class that there is multiple exhibitors that don't know where they're going, don't know which way we're leading, don't know, like, when you're pulled in and placing which way to go to. And that can all be fixed very easily by going up there and watching a couple classes. And talked about this on the mic a lot here lately. And this one lady came up and asked me, she says, but what if the judge doesn't do it the same every time? And I said, and I asked her, I was being very honest, I said, I guess I don't understand. When she said that they've been to shows where the judge does not line the classes up the same way all the time, doesn't place them the same way all the time. And I'll be the first one to tell you that I am a sorter. Most times, if it's cattle, I'm going top to bottom. If it's sheep and goats, I'm going bottom to top because that's how the sheep and goat people like it more. I could do it the other way, but they don't seem to like it that way as much. Gets them a little flustered. And the same way with pigs. They like it top to bottom. So that's all fine. But like, there's been very few times in my history of going to shows that I have seen judges change up the way that animals came into a ring and how they were positioned throughout the day. Like, I'm telling you, when I mean like under 1% of the time, I would say under 1% of the time. So I don't think that's something that happens very often. Normally, a judge goes in there, the ring stewards ask them, how do you want this to happen for the rest of the day? And they follow that pattern. Now, there are exceptions where they might walk a couple more, a certain group of animals one more time, whatever. But by and large of it all, it's going to stay the same throughout the day.
No, I would agree. And there may be some changes just in how they come in the ring where for one reason that ring steward sent them the wrong way and the judge says, hey, let's do it this way. But in general, it's not going to change. There's one more that we've talked about this, Ryan, and while we're on the exhibitor, the showman, we've talked about this one before, but I wanted to bring it up because I think it fits in with the respectful thing. And I'm not sure where to fall on this one. And I get asked this question every once in a while. In the respective species rings, a lot of the kids, especially, and I'm watching the lamb and the goat ring as well as the pig ring. And I'm not sure on the cattle side, probably not going to happen as much. But shaking the hand of the judge as he's talking about your animal or after he or she is done talking that animal or explaining what they thought of that particular animal. Obviously, some judges are perfectly fine with it. Others do not like it at all. I guess the first time that I ever encountered it, and I think I mentioned this on an earlier podcast, was when I was in California many, many years ago. It kind of caught me off guard at the time. But in hindsight, when I was going home from that show, I really appreciated that gesture. I thought it was genuine. I thought it was real. Today, it's a little bit, I'm good either way, whether the kid comes up and shakes my hand or not. It seems to be a little bit more of a formality. And because of such, it's not as personal to me. And maybe that's just my opinion. I'm taking it the wrong way. But it's similar to me, like when we say thank you after giving a set of oral reasons in a livestock judging contest, you stick it on there. I think there's ways you can make it more personable. You can make it more sincere, but it is a little bit of a formality. So it's hard to maybe get that true meaning across there rather than being a formality. I can go either way with it, but each judge is going to have their own individual preferences with it. Your thoughts, Ryan?
It doesn't bother me. I do think, like you're saying, that now just as many times as that kid is sincere and wants to shake that person's hand and thank them, that it's just something that somebody does. And the thing about a handshake is you can tell real simply and real easily if that handshake is sincere or not because of how they shake your hand. If they just kind of like grab it and thanks and whatever, I mean, it's something that you're going to be able to tell if it's honest and genuine or not. It does not bother me when kids want to come up and shake my hand after class. I will be honest with you, in talking to lots of judges about this over the years, I don't know many that like it to happen in the ring right there during the show. I guess there's a few exceptions, like after there's been a breed champion drive and there's a natural break and they want to come up and shake your hand as they exit the ring, that's one thing. But class after class, I don't think the majority of them like it. Again, it doesn't bother me. Most people think that you should wait to come up till after the show. And here's the thing with that, and I bring this up. Some of these kids have traveled lots of miles, lots of hours. Some of them aren't going to make it to the Grand Drive. So are they going to wait 3 to 4 hours till the show is over if they've already shown their animal and haven't advanced any further just to shake that judge's hand? And so I think that's why they try to do it while they're in the ring. So I think you got to take some of that. But by and large, I think that most judges do not like it to happen during the class. They feel it's distracting because it is happening while they're trying to give their reasons, trying to explain their placings and stuff like that. It doesn't bother me, but I do know there are several that would think there would be a more ideal time than that. But
I would agree completely. And I'd say it's not ideal for the flow of things because some of those, some of those just aren't going to want to walk up towards the judge for whatever reason, pulling out of the line. And I agree completely with Ryan, where Ryan's at. I think there's a situation where if you're standing fourth in that lineup and the first three had taken their animal up to the judge and shook their hand on the way out, you're feeling like if you don't do it, you're maybe offending that judge.
And I agree.
But I want to put it out there. If I'm sorting a show, I don't have any problem with it, but I am not going to be in any manner offended if you don't do it. And it probably more times than not, like Ryan said, most judges would probably prefer to just keep moving through the show and allowing it to flow more naturally without that happening.
Before we move on to another section or whatever, there's one part of showman etiquette that we've left out that I think is something that needs to be brought up. And that is be considerate in your spacing to the other exhibitors when you're stopping your animal. And again, this isn't as much in pigs because they just get guided around, but in cattle, sheep, and goats, we literally stop those animals and set them up. You need to make sure that you've left enough room for the people on either side of you to be able to work with their animal, get their animal set up. And I see it every show. Somebody isn't paying attention, doesn't realize the animals are being stopped, so they're ram up on the one in front, and it just kind of causes like a train reaction, and then everybody at the back's all jumbled up together, and everybody's afraid, if I circle out, then that's gonna, whether it's showmanship in the show, if you can prevent from circling out, that's a positive thing, but there are times where it has to happen. And so if you're getting covered up, somebody's run over you, run on top of you, whatever, yeah, like circle out, try to find your way. But I also want to say this, because I see this a lot. There are times when this happens, especially on a side view or a profile shot, where, okay, I've got to move out. So you move out in the middle of the ring. Well, then person is continuing to run up on you, whatever. I'll be honest with you. The best thing to do if you're in a situation that there's no way out of it, just take your animal and go to the end of the line. And I promise you that judge, if they see that, they're going to know what you're doing because they have seen what's happening. They know that you're in a spot where you can't present yours to the best, and they're not going to hold it against you. And if they do, they're wrong.
You'll tell them too, won't you?
I have no problem telling them.
No, I agree with that. Well, though that's I think there's some good information there. We maybe spend a little more time on that than I thought we would, but I think it's all good. Let's move on to the ring steward.
Well, ring steward and show managers and stuff like that. I think that's people, whether you're volunteering or you're on staff or all that. I do think that there's an etiquette that needs to happen, and I think that no matter whether you're on the announcer stand or you're in the ring, anything like that, I think that you're going to want to communicate with the judge, talk to those people, have a good time with them, all that's fine. Just be real careful about the topics that you breach. And I just think the hard and fast rule is, let's not talk about any kid or any animal that has been in that ring or coming into that ring that day. Unless the judge said, and I have said this to people before, after that class, man, that Angus heifer, wow, that one there, I don't know if anybody's going to get around there. And, that part I get, but before a kid or an animal has come in, let's just leave that be.
No, I think that's exactly. Absolutely, I'm there. There's lots of directions we can go here, and it is what it is. Maybe I should take you to an example, and I don't want to start off on a negative, but these show managers, ring help, ring stewards, whatever you want to say, not all, but most of them, especially the ring help, they're volunteering. I appreciate them being there.
No, they're volunteers.
I can remember there is a show that I go to, and I'm going to be a little bit negative here, and I'm not going to bring up what show it is, but there's ring help that works so hard there from the beginning to the end. It's unbelievable. They're literally running across the ring. They're doing things. They're basically Hitler-like on where the kid is supposed to set up. They're instructing them to an overkill, to where it's almost distracting for me to watch, and it almost insulting to the kids that are showmen. That's part of it. They need to know what to do. They need how to do those things. But just boom, 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 everything's got to be exactly here, and they're giving them no choice. They're making them follow them around the ring. It's crazy, Hitler-like, and a little bit demeaning to me, to the showman. I appreciate that they're there. I appreciate they're trying to make it as efficient as they possibly can and flow and accommodate that judge. But it's almost like they're have less respect for maybe the youth. And I know it's not intentional whatsoever, because they wouldn't be doing what they're doing under that situation. But they're doing everything they can to make the judge's job easier. And when you're in bigger shows, I understand, but I'd rather balance it a little bit. And if those kids in that ring understand where they're going, and Ryan and I said sometimes they don't, and they need guidance. But if they're going and it's flowing and they're doing things right on their own, I'd prefer to leave it alone. And if one of them gets a little out of whack, then you go help them and instruct them a little bit. Have you seen things like this, Ryan?
I mean, I've been to shows where the ringmen are over eager and anxious and a little bit, like dictator-like. Yeah, I've seen that. But I'll be real honest with you. I'd rather have it that way than one that doesn't do anything besides stand out there and try to judge the show.
And you're right. And guess what? And there's more the other way than this. This is just one example that I can think of. And I don't know why it sticks in my mind, but more times than not, and again, we're picking on volunteers, and we do not need to do that, because I appreciate them being there. But more times than not, there's not enough volunteers or enough help. And as a judge, it does take longer when you have to be the judge and the ring steward.
I think the biggest thing to do when you're a volunteer and you're out there in the ring or you're on the announce stand, all that, is, again, just like, be friendly to everybody, try to have a good time. But when you're interacting with that judge, we need to be very conscious of the things that we say, because a lot of times people say something and it is completely innocent in their thought process. But if somebody else hears it, it doesn't come across that way, I guess, is the best way that I can explain it. And I'll just give an example. You're at a show, and even if this person is not that volunteer's kid or family member or anything, if somebody ringside hears person out there in the ring or somebody on the announcer stand talking to the judge, oh my God, that is such a great kid, and da-da-da-da-da, that is going to, and even though they're not related, anything, that is going to appear and sound like that is them trying to influence that judge.
It is, and it may not have been that intended to be that way at all. It's just human nature. I think
there are comments like that are just purely innocent, but they get taken out of context and portrayed a different way. And so that's why I think there are lots of people that, like lots of kids that are showing that they have nothing to do with them and respect them and want them to succeed and stuff, and will say stuff like that. But it just takes one person to overhear that and take it the wrong way, and then, oh, well, so-and-so is up there trying to tell the judge that so-and-so is such a great kid and supposed to win and does all this other stuff. And so that's why I think that you just need to be very, very careful in terms of what you say if you're a person inside that ring interacting with that judge throughout the day. And then the other thing I can tell you from my own personal experience, if you are going to have an animal in the show that you have whether it's your family members, your child, or you sold it, bred it, whatever, and you're in there volunteering work in the ring, the best thing to do is when that animal is in there, just remove yourself from being a volunteer for that little time that animal's in the ring. And I can say this because every time my mother had Belt Buckle Bonanza and Fall Classic several shows throughout years, and I was never in a ring with an animal that I sold. And even though that's not my show or my organization or anything like that, that was all her stuff. But I was never in a ring with anything that I sold while they were showing.
I can relax a little bit on that as long as I don't think that they're doing anything abnormal and I don't know it's their child in the ring. It isn't affecting me, obviously.
Again, it's perception.
I can see that. And while we're on the perception topic, even Ryan, when that ring steward or ring help is talking to the judge and nobody can hear what they're talking about, even that perception, because they can't hear them, it's not good. To me, if the judge and I like to visit with those working around the ring in between classes or whatever.
Oh, it keeps you sane.
It does, but I think it's best if the judge is approaching those people to have the conversation versus the other way where it can be taken so much more wrong, if that makes sense.
Like, you can't go the whole day and not talk to anybody else. You're going to have conversations with almost every person that's in the arena. I mean, I have conversations with people standing outside the ring. I mean, but like, those are the things that give you the little bit of sanity to have a mental break in between classes and stuff. But I agree with you saying, if the judge walks up and starts talking to you, then it can't be taken the wrong way that you're trying to approach them.
Exactly. And I want to walk back a statement I said. I started off way too negative on this specific area. Ryan, I hate to admit it, said it much better, and it made me realize when I talk about the ring help being almost Hitler-like and really, I mean, very serious about their job and trying to get that show to move along very efficiently, and I understand it, I appreciate it. He said it better. It just doesn't come across friendly. And I want every interaction, ideally, that the exhibitors or the show families, remember the customer is always right episode, friendly interaction is good. And these are sometimes so far that younger exhibitor in there, that they're going to take it like, oh my gosh, I did something wrong or be offended by it. And we don't need that kind of experience. So that a little more friendly approach is maybe what I was getting at. And I don't want that to be taken the wrong way because I appreciate all those volunteers that are going into the ring. And more times than not, we have less help than enough help to get things around the ring. So it is appreciated.
And I will bring this up. And when I say the thing about ring people being out there and not doing enough and trying to judge the show, I don't mean that they physically think that they're judging the show, but a lot of times ring stewards people get wrapped up in looking at the animals, and those great ones come in and everybody gets starstruck by them, and they don't see little Sally at the back who, sheep's or goat or calf's out of line, or they don't see the hog over here in the corner that's about to get into a fight with another one. And so I guess the thing is that, like, and I hear that complaint a lot more often than I do the other. And again, they are all volunteers. They're not getting, majority of them are interns. They're not getting paid for their time. So yeah, there are going to be moments where everybody gets distracted, etc. But for the most part, if you're out there volunteering time, you're not getting paid, then you're doing it for the right reasons. So we've also, even though you would be way better off if one of the parents would like catch them at one time and say, hey, there's some kids at the back, whatever, like try to get that person's attention to clue them in. Because more times than not, they're just not seeing it. You don't have eyes in the back of your head. You can't see everything. And I'm not going to say that I'm going to sit here and tell you that I haven't been in rings before where one of the ring stewards thought they were my associate judge, because they did. And I've been through that. Okay. So I get it. But by and large, I think that just sometimes you can't see everything that's going on. So if you can grab their attention and focus it to where there is people that need help, I think you'll be better off.
And I don't think any of the ring help is ever going to be offended by something like that. They're going to appreciate that, hey, I didn't catch that yet.
Yeah, as long as you do it friendly and aren't a bitch and, rude
and that is key, because sometimes when we do that, It's our child and we're not happy. So let's take a deep breath
that's the whole
before
thing.
we go
If you're going to yell obscenities at them and like flip them off, they're probably not going to be real excited about going to help your kid. But yeah, if you do it in a nice way, yeah. And I have seen the other two. It doesn't go over well.
Now, there's a couple comments or statements, I guess, maybe I'm going to throw in here that we have hit on other topics. But while we're on the show manager, ring steward type thing, and I consider this etiquette now. We're going to take it out of that we should do this to just good etiquette. Once the judge confirms they're judging that show, let the world know. We don't have to argue about that at all, do we, Ryan? That's good etiquette. We're going to call it just a good thing to do. The other thing that we've talked about, if it's a rule that cannot be implemented, or not be enforced, let's take it out. We don't need it. Not maybe all the way to Ryan's theories, but be somewhere in between.
Still believe there should only be one rule, but no, I think those. I mean, yeah, you can include those in etiquette, and I think those are things that will make everything run easier if they know who the judge is as early as possible, and they're not as rules that can't be enforced. Then that's less for everybody to gripe or complain about or have to worry about on the exhibitor end and the show management end. And because I do this every weekend pretty much, or sometimes during the week, I've seen almost every situation and stuff. The first thing that a judge is going to do when they get to that show is they're going to try to find the office or the check-in desk or somebody there who's in charge that say, hey, I'm here, all this other stuff. So when you are those people in charge and they're there, greet them, tell them where they need to go, if there's a room for them to hold into. If there's not, and it's these jackpot shows and it's just whatever, I'll be real honest with you. I can check in. I get there early enough. I check in and say, hey, I'm going to go make some phone calls, which we all know I don't talk on the phone, but I will go text or do something outside. So I'm not just standing there. Because again, not that you don't want to talk to those people, but you also don't want people to think that someone's trying to do something inappropriate. Less amount of interaction with any of the officials or volunteers and the judge, then there is less for people to perceive as something that could be inappropriate.
And we all have people we know there, possibly, and all of that's fine, and it's just polite to do that, but I like how Ryan takes himself out of the situation, and I'll do the same. We can do this, and maybe you don't want to stick around till after the show, so I kind of understand it, but we're just better off leaving that to the end of the show, irregardless of whether it has any impact on what's going to happen in the show ring. It's all about the perception. One more topic, Ryan, and within this one, maybe it doesn't even fit within this one, because maybe the show managers can help. I don't even like bringing this up, and I haven't discussed it at all with you, and I don't know where you stand on it. But my reason for not wanting to bring it up is I don't have a good solution, and I don't like pointing out problems when there's not a solution. If anything, it's maybe going to be more under the judge's independent individual control. So we have shows that sometimes are 2-day shows. Sometimes we'll be judging a larger show, or at state fairs you have several species showing during the day, and they all come together at night for selection of the grand. And I like that because it builds.
Oh, me too. Those are my favorites. I love a night event.
I
get a costume change, and there's a bunch of people around. It's lovely.
Oh, God. Costume. You change clothes before that, don't you?
Oh, duh. Yeah.
I always take an extra set of clothes to do that at night.
An extra white shirt. Mm-hmm.
And an extra black vest, or a pair of starch jeans. Right. Or maybe I really don't even change, maybe.
Right. Okay. So moving on. But
okay.
Your question.
So I want to encourage those things because I think that builds everything. That's positive in every avenue. And sometimes you have a 2-day show. What I don't like, and I'm afraid this is again, I'm going too negative today, Ryan. I don't like the fact the judge has that downtime, and because of texting, because of cell phones, sometimes exhibitors, and Ryan can maybe verify this, there's too many breeders, exhibitors, people that believe they have some type of influence over that judge trying to communicate with them before that grand drive is over. And there may be an entire night, and you're going into the second show, second day, and you're going to pick the grand after that second day. I don't like the judge communicating with a lot of people about what they're doing out there in the ring. I can't stop it. I can't control it. Even if there's let's say we finish a steer show at 4:00 in the afternoon, and they're going to go to the Coliseum to select grand at 6:00 that night. I would prefer, if it's just a couple hours, and again, there is no good solution, but I'm trying here. I would prefer that they're, during that couple hours, if there was somebody from that show or that show manager that was with that person. And maybe more so to keep people from coming up to them and making those conversations. But I've been at state fairs, Ryan, that we have those 2 or 3 down hours, and it's just normal. The judge is going to walk around, maybe go to another barn and look at livestock, and parents, exhibitors that are going back out in that grand drive have full access to them. And I'm just not completely comfortable with that. Maybe it's just a perception thing.
Well, I can tell you from my end that I'm not going to be that person because of just everything you said, because there are going to be people that want to come up and talk. And like, I mean, some of it's innocent, some of it's not. So I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to either go sit in my car, go have a costume change, or do something, or sit in the office. But if it's just a couple of hours, I thought you were going to say that they needed to take their phones away, and I was going to like come through the microphone and strangle you because somebody tried to take my phone away. They're gonna have problems. But yeah,
but you're not checking your phone during the day while you're judging.
No, I don't check it during the day while I'm judging. But if there's 3 hours between when I get done and the grand drive, I'm gonna be on my phone 2 minutes and 45 minutes of it. 2 hours and 45 minutes of that time. Yes,
maybe both phones that you carry, even not just one.
No, I put my phone in the backpack while I'm judging, and unless we're like waiting for another show to start or whatever, but I don't respond to text or anything like that during shows. No, I don't do any of that. But that does happen. I can tell you at the Wisconsin State Fair, from the time I checked into the office to the time I got done, I always had someone with me. It didn't bother me at all. I mean, if you're not doing anything dirty or sketchy, then why do you care if somebody's there with you?
And I would say the Texas majors are pretty good about it.
I mean, that doesn't bother me at all to have somebody there. As far as that, the people doing that, whether it's innocent or not innocent, the judge just needs to do better and not let that affect anything. First off,
that's the only solution.
First off, that person needs to do better and not let that affect anything and not deal with that. I'm not telling to be rude to somebody in person, but if somebody texts you or something, you don't have to respond.
No, and I'm going to put it out there that the gay, when approached in that manner, is going to make it a disadvantage. Maybe that'll stop it.
Oh, no, it's not. If somebody like comes up, and very few times has it happened here lately, and they did not like what I said when I was done. I'm just saying. So that doesn't happen to me often, but in those situations, the judge needs to do better. But I do not think there is any problem in the world with having to hold in an office for a couple hours if there's just a little time between grand drive or whatever, or having somebody with you. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Again, if you're not doing anything that you shouldn't be worried about it.
That's the bottom line right there, isn't it?
Exactly.
It just is what it is. Oh, my.
If you're not doing nothing that you shouldn't be, then you won't be worried about that shit. So go ahead.
And I don't like some things you say, but maybe I'll wait until after the podcast. And you keep telling me how you're giving Joe a chance. It gets me, but I wait. I don't call you out on air.
Right. You've only done it 5 times today. But anyway, I mean, that's fine. But like I said.
Okay. Are we good on the show managers and volunteers, the ring help?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we've covered that. And again, and as always on these topics, we're not going to cover everything. So if there is a question that you have, that's what Dale's favorite part of the program is, question and answer. So you listen to this and say, well, what about this instance? And we will do our best to answer it. Yeah. And so.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the parents.
And this goes whether you're a grandparent, a parent, a brother, a sibling, a cousin, or a broker,
a guardian, a friend. It doesn't matter who it is. And you know what?
I don't care if you're there with pom-poms and fire batons for somebody, or they brought in a choir to sing hallelujah when your animal walked in.
And I think we ought to take a sidetrack that even the parents of the gay, when he's judging, need to maybe perform proper etiquette and quit trying to tell the gay how to judge.
Oh, they save that for when we go to eat. Trust me. They don't do it in live and in living color because they do not want to be called out on a microphone, and I would.
But you do hear afterwards.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, Cherie would be a much better person to judge all shows in the world than I ever could be. My goal, other than to be equated to Tom Brady status, is to also live up to the expectations of Jessie Cherie Moeller Clooney Rash Caraba Bright. That is her full name.
I think you should have her out there as a co-judge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd go to watch that one.
Yeah, because y'all would see someone die within the first 2 classes.
Okay, back to exhibitor parents. I think we just got to stay on that. Let's make this show positive. Let's be friendly. And a lot of that maybe starts with parents. And as Ryan said, uncles, cousins, whatever you want, grandparents, all of those things. And it's difficult because when we have a child involved or a relative or a close friend, we get a little bit emotional. We maybe get a little barn blind. Our hormones from an emotional standpoint are probably not allowing us to think as clearly as we should. How's that, Ryan?
Well, I mean, adrenaline kicks in, pure and simple. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And so I am not going to be a hypocrite, and I'm just not. And so I am not going to tell you that I have not instructed kids on you need to move a back foot or loin or, you got your head pulled too far this way. I instruct kids on how to show any of my animals when they're in the ring. I'm also not standing on the rail, waving my arms, flailing like a dying bird, got my hat out. I mean, there are ways to do it and not be so obvious about it. To this day in the open show, when I get my animal set, I look to somebody outside the ring, and all I need them to do is either to nod yes or no. I don't need anything else. Because if they shake me off no, then I've done it enough that I can pretty much figure it out. But, I mean, not everybody is shown that much. But, so, just be subtle. Try to be subtle about it, I guess, when you are giving those instructions. And I don't think that's too much to ask. Also, when it doesn't work out the way you want and you get pulled third, I don't think there's a big reason or need to scream obscenities or fall to the ground or roll your eyes or throw your hat on the ground or any of those things that I've seen happen before.
And emotions get out of control. It's part of it, but we've got to reel it in.
I have been so mad at shows that I could have spit nails, but I walked outside and got in a corner and had my reaction. Didn't do it there in front of everybody because, again, when you have those reactions and those things happen, the one thing you're reacting because of what has happened to you or your family member or your kid or your animal, and I get it, and it's justified. And all of us want to win or we want to do this. What you're not understanding and what you're forgetting is everybody there is armed with a camera phone. And more importantly than that, not only is that going to happen, someone who wins that show is going to be told about the negative reaction when they lost and that kid won, and you're ruining that kid and that family's moment at that time. And if the situations were reversed and it was your family, your kid, or your animal winning that show, and somebody was acting negatively in that moment and ruining it for you, you'd be madder than hell.
It's that simple.
And so we just have to remember that there are other people besides our little group involved and wrapped up in this. And it's hard. I'm not telling you it's easy. It's hard. I know people who don't do anything when they win. I know people that do backflips and somersaults and throw their cowboy hats in the air when they win, all that. I'm not going to tell anybody how to react when you win, but I am going to say when it goes the opposite way, don't ruin it for somebody who is having that moment that you wanted so badly.
And remember, people are watching. And I can assure you, when I'm traveling around the country and whether I'm helping clients out or judging a show or just spectating, I do notice, especially on some of those kids that are up there and they're in the hunt and maybe have an animal good enough, depending on that judge's personal opinion that day, I pay more attention to how those kids that maybe have a chance and don't get that banner, how they react, maybe even more so than what I pay attention to those that win. It's part of it.
Human nature, and this is not right, but human nature is to seek out and look for the people that you know might have a negative reaction. I don't know why that is. It's like people that can't take their eyes off a train wreck. Okay, it's just a part of life.
No, that is part of it, and unfortunately, I've had kids that I've held in very high regard that I've watched show, and on occasion emotions get out of hand, and I'm disappointed sometimes, and that may be my own child, it may be even myself, and how I react to things. We're all guilty of it, but we all need to do a better job of trying to be better losers. And there's not, I don't like anything about it, but we need to do better.
My point is flip the script. And if you're the one winning and that there's somebody over there doing that when you're winning, you're going to be angry and upset that they're having that negative reaction to your child or your group or your animal winning. And so that's the thing that I always try to keep going through my mind. And especially at these things, like, if you're in the hunt, not in the hunt, I would literally tell myself, okay, no matter which way this goes, I need to remember that everybody's going to be watching me. And if it doesn't go this way, I need to be respectful for the person who did get what we were trying to accomplish. And so that's a big part to me. The other thing, and this is going to step on a whole lot of people's toes, and I really don't care.
Maybe we ought to take a deep breath before you do this.
No, I don't need to take a deep breath. I don't give a shit.
Consistency.
I don't care where we are, what level of competition it is. I know that there is a lot of people, and I'm going to say the majority. This is not a minority. This is, I would say, over half of the people that do this feel the need to tail that animal into the ring or spray water bottle on that pig's back or something else, so that person that's standing out there in the middle of the arena can associate said animal with this person. And I get that it happens at every show, almost every class. I understand it. I'm not going to say that I think that it's right. I'm also not going to tell you that I haven't been there and I haven't been on the sidelines when I've stood there when one of mine was at the mate ready ring. I have. I've never walked 12 steps into one like I've seen happen before or, stuff like that. But my thing is, it has gotten to a point now that it is grossly and out.
I don't know that it's changed. You're just in the ring that much. It's becoming more
out of control.
No, you're just
it is grossly out of control.
I think it always has been.
No, it is grossly out of control. And because it used to be there was a designated person. Okay?
True. I'm going to go with you on that.
There was a designated person. Whoever was the head chief in charge of that tribe was there on that animal or had that spray bottle water or whatever. And it's not going to affect anything under me, but again, I'm fine. One person, fine. Now, when they take it 12 steps in the ring, maybe not so much fine. Now, it is 5, 10, 12.
And there is humor. You know what I find?
I'm telling you, I was at a show in Indiana not too long ago.
Now,
and
careful.
I'm not going to say what kid, what animal. Well, I'll tell the show is in Indiana. It's last month. 12 people literally rode one into the arena. Like a posse of sharks hunting. I was just like, and you think that this is going to help your cause. If y'all think I'm that stupid that it takes a dozen people to follow one in the ring for me to figure it out, why are you showing to me? Why?
I love it. I will find what I'd call a steer jockey or a lamb jockey or a goat jockey, these teenage kids that are following them in the ring. And I'm thinking, I don't even know who the hell you are.
Oh, I don't know 90% of them. But
I don't get it.
I'm like, really? And now most of these shows, like, I remember faces 900,000,000% more than I remember names. Now at all these shows you have masks on. So again, I know nobody. And so I'm like, really? Seriously. I am not exaggerating. There was 11 grown
you
ass
are
men.
you are
Grown
exaggerating.
ass men
Ryan,
following this
Ryan,
one calf in.
Ryan,
11 grown ass men.
we need to fact check this one.
You go right ahead. I guarantee you there was people there that saw it.
Okay, while we're on the topic of some of these teenage jockeys, it's interesting because sometimes some of those negative comments that we're getting at that age, I think, especially on the male side, we're experiencing some hormones and we're thinking we're pretty smart and we're pretty important. A lot of times they're the ones that are maybe bashing on the judge a little bit and being a little more negative and doing those type of things. And it's unfortunate because many of those that are doing this are unlikely to ever be asked to sort any show. And it's for just cause. But yet, for some reason, they do feel entitled to give their opinion very strongly to anybody and everybody that'll listen.
No, you're not wrong on that whatsoever at all.
It really rubs me a little, and not when I'm necessarily when I'm judging, but when you see it more when you're just at a show helping clients, and I'm thinking, seriously, let's just take a deep breath and realize that most of those people out there in that ring sorting them have had a whole lot more experience and probably more qualified than you.
This goes back to when we're having negative reactions when we lose. You don't know all the people around you, and you don't know if they are there with that judge or they know somebody that knows that judge. And when you say these things, someone is going to hear you and it is going to get back somehow, somewhere. And here's the problem. You would be better off walking up to that said person and saying it directly to them, and let me tell you why. Because everything gets exaggerated. So you say something negative that you shouldn't say, well, by the time the person beside you heard it and it goes to the other person that they know is friends with the person out in the ring who's going to tell the judge, by that time, it has grossly got exaggerated to what something that was negative to, like, it could have been a death threat at that point. I mean, like, that it gets blown up. But you do not know who is around you, and I promise you, everyone listens to everything that somebody else is saying. It will get back. I promise you it will. So just keep your mouth shut. Get in the car and talk to whoever came with you and bash me to kingdom come. It's fine.
Or just call me. I'll jump in with them.
I don't care. But when you do it and let other people hear that, that is not going to help your cause. It's not going to help that family's cause. It's not going to help your child's cause. Nothing. When you're in the car, do whatever. But if you're at a ring, someone's going to hear you.
I am completely with you. And we're getting a little long on this one, but it's okay. There's one more thing, and I don't think we brought this up. When judges take a restroom break or a lunch break, that's probably not the time to approach them, especially with something negative or to try to explain your opinion to them. And I've seen this done. Ryan, I'm assuming it doesn't happen to you very often. I can't say that it's ever necessarily happened to me, but it does happen.
People come up to me when I go to the restroom, stuff like that. I mean, no, most people aren't like bashing me. But
no, I mean on a negative note, not just...
No. But I mean, it does happen, and like I'll be honest, people will come up to me at the ring and like say, "Okay, my kid was third in the last class. I couldn't hear the mic. What you said, can you please explain to me why?" I have no problem doing that, but again, probably not the best time. But it doesn't bother me. But no, it is not a good idea to go bash somebody while they're still judging the show or be negative towards them. Probably not a real good idea.
Nothing positive is going to come from that. Zero.
There's one other thing that I want to bring up. And we covered this in a lot of facets, but I'm going to bring this up, and it's probably, again, going to put some people on edge and offend people, and that's fine too. But when it's a 2-ring show and you are judging alongside another individual, let's just not talk about the animals that you used before the other person has seen them. Let's just not talk about the animals at all, or how they placed or how they did, especially because somebody's going to be ring 1 or A, and the other guy's going to be ring 2 or B or she. And like, let's just not do it. There's no sense in it. If either one of those people in those rings want to know what's going on the other side, they can glance over there and see. You don't have to bring it up.
And ideally, it would be best to try to avoid it. It's unavoidable sometimes.
Let's just not do it.
Yeah, unavoidable to know what's going on in the other rings.
No, it is unavoidable. A lot of times, whether you hear, you're going to hear things, you're going to see things, whatever. Even when you're intentionally trying not to, you're still going to, unless there's a big-ass curtain and a soundproof booth. I've never been to one of those shows, but I'd like to. If anybody wants to do that, I'm all for it. But
I think it'd be great.
I do too. But you're going to hear and see things. A lot of times you have to walk to the fence to get the mic. You're sharing a mic, whatever. But we don't have to discuss it. If I am waiting on a mic, I try to keep my back turned to the other ring or focus on something else, stuff like that. I'm not telling you I get it done every time, but I do try to do those things. But there's just no sense in us conversing about what has happened in the ring. Let's talk about the weather or where we're going to go eat that night or, anything else. Because again, people hear you.
And that's the purpose of having two shows, is maybe we want
two separate opinions, independent, separate opinions.
If they wanted you to work together, they could have just put you into one show.
You would have co-judged.
Yeah,
two
exactly.
Separate, independent opinions. And again, I think when judges talk about cattle at shows, it is completely, for the most part, by and large, innocent. Again, somebody's going to hear you.
Absolutely. No, I don't think it hardly.
Hear you.
I think it's innocent 99% of the time, but it does not matter.
I do.
It is
but we still don't. We still don't need to do it because somebody's going to overhear that, and then it's going to get twisted.
And just in case anybody's ever asked to be a co-judge with a gay, just say no. Just say no.
I'll be honest. I've been in that situation. I have done it, and I will say that I'm not saying that I cannot do it. I can.
You don't do it well.
I think I work better as a solo act. I think I'm much better as a solo act. That's all I'm going to say on that.
Okay, the one thing we didn't talk about today, and you can go back to, I believe, our last episode about judges, and there is a lot of etiquette that we talked about on judges, and you wanting to judge a show. Here's maybe some things you should or should not do. So we're not even going to go down that path. It would take another hour to do that, and we've already done it. We
talked about that in depth a lot, but we didn't cover that little part right there.
Correct.
And exactly. I do, and that is more of a show ring etiquette thing, and I did want to cover that, and so it's out there.
It is time. Today's not. It's not even gonna. I have nothing to really to stick you with. The first one comes in our question and answer from Tasha. I've been asked to judge a county goat show this summer, and they're requesting that I judge bite and teeth hard in the breeding classes. Now, I have my own opinion, but I'd like to hear your guys' talk udders and teats in breeding show stock, fish teats, extra teats in a breeding doe or a ewe or a heifer class, obviously less common issues in cattle and sheep than in goats. If a doe is an obvious winner in a class but has a fish teat or even 3 clean teats, what do you do? She would obviously improve your genetic line, but then has the teat issue. Ryan, do you want to jump or would you like me to go?
And again, I don't care if we're talking about teats or whatever else. There are going to be time. It happens to me every single time I judge a show. And this goes back to last week when I'm saying be honest on the mic. There is going to be a situation where one needs to win the class, but there is something wrong with it. And like in this situation she's describing, glowingly, obviously, everybody can see it's wrong. Say that shit on the mic. Say, this is not right about this animal. It's still the best one because, and list all those reasons. And it's perfectly fine. Because again, I want to keep bringing this up. Whether it's Tasha or me or Dale, it is our opinion. It is our opinion on that given day, at that given show, of the animals that are presented to us in that arena. Just say what is wrong and say what is right. about those animals because it is just your opinion.
Agreed 100%. I'm going to go a little more specific, Ryan, and let's think about these weather dams or just a doe class in general. You're not, unless you pull that leg up or reach under there to feel those teats, and I guarantee you when you're judging weather dams, you do not.
No.
I'm not. I can't. No, it just doesn't. You can't, for the most part, in these hair does, you're not even going to see the teats. Could you go look at them if you want to? The ABGA rules, and I know very little about ABGA, but most of these judges are certified. They're taught to look at the bite, to look at the teats. That's in the full blood world. When we come into the weather dams and the weather world, it's a little bit different, and most judges are not going to study teats in the weather dams for various reasons. I think in a situation, in an ideal world, we want those teats to be very functional. I don't care if they look perfect, but need to be functional, as it makes everybody's life easier when they hit the jug or they give birth and need to raise some young. But if it's not an ABGA show, Tasha, this, and Ryan already stated, this is completely up to you what you want to do with it. I can tell you that I don't get too concerned about bite. I don't get too concerned about teats. I don't even look at them at a weather dam show. Maybe I should. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't care if it's an ABGA show or not, and what show it is. Unless they have a scorecard where you're supposed to rank that stuff, it's still just your opinion how much you factor it in.
It is.
They can tell you to Kingdom Come what to do. They hired you. You're the one out there. You can do what you want to. Just call a spade and rock on.
Absolutely. I can go deeper into our breeding decisions. When we decide to flush a doe that's just killer good everywhere and she's fish teated or whatever, guess what, Ryan?
What?
I flush her anyway. And we just move on. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I guarantee you at the level
it's your money and you're paying for the flush work. So guess what? You can do what you want to.
Working. It's kind of like when we started AI and hogs. We all of a sudden went from vulva size being pretty important to our show gilts. Now it just doesn't matter because we're going to put an AI rod in them. They don't have to naturally breed. I think in the weather goat industry, in a matter of years, we don't have to have them have a natural kid. We just need to be able to flush them. It's not right in the real world. It's not practical. It's not anything, but it is what it is. Can move on from there. Tasha, do whatever you so choose.
Yeah, sir, you just put this whole statement out there. It is what it is and talks about how it's not right. Whatever. This goes back to the fact of the form to function commercial bullshit you keep spouting. I am right. You are wrong.
It's only in goats. It doesn't apply in weather goats.
Whatever. Move on next. You admitted I was right.
In goats. That's it.
Nope. He admitted what I was right. You people listen at home, rewind that, play that shit again. He said the gay was right, and he didn't know he said the gay was right.
Oh, my. Derek has a question. Good afternoon. My wife and I have been showing livestock for many years, and now our 3 kids show also, but we mostly stick to shows within a 3-hour drive. We would like to start traveling more with our cattle, and on the trailer for long hauls, do you recommend tying them or leaving them loose?
Okay.
Actually tying them up or down. I apologize. It's just tying them up or down. So it is definitely tying them.
I don't care if it's 30 minutes or 13 hours. If you've got enough room where you can tie them down and everybody in that trailer has room to lay down, do that.
That was easy.
I'm just saying.
Let's take it a step further. If you have room, whatever is going to allow them to be more comfortable.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, I don't care what the distance is. If you've got a trailer and you've got enough room where you can tie them down, where they can all lay down comfortably or let them loose, do that. That's the easiest question to answer ever. Yay, Dale. You Grillwood. Let's end on a good note. Yay.
No, we have to do one more. I have 2 or 3 more, but we're going to save some for next week. Okay, this one comes from John, and I've been pushing this one back and back because
easy. Why can't we end on an easy one?
John says, would Ryan ever consider donating his brain to science? Time out. I'm not done here. Time out. Would Ryan ever consider donating his brain to science since he is a gay person who knows he's a man, who also leans more conservative? I feel he is more rare than a unicorn or Bigfoot. Not just that, but the way he sorts stock, how he rarely looks back at the animals. how he's describing the stock while talking to the audience. I would like to answer this one, Ryan, even though it's not my brain.
You go right ahead, Dale. Since it was clearly addressed to you, please answer the question.
I have to answer this.
Go right ahead.
Guys, you do not want a scientific analysis done of Ryan's brain.
I'm going to say amen and God bless America. I'm going to agree with Dale.
Cover what I already know. It is intriguing to me. I enjoy visiting with Ryan. I enjoy having this podcast with Ryan because I've never met somebody that's maybe as capable or as over functioning in certain areas.
Wired the way I am
is what his brain is. He is. Also, you know what's coming, don't you, Ryan?
It's a blessing and a curse. I tell people this every damn day of my life.
That curse part, he's got a section of his brain that's screwed up, guys.
No doubt. No doubt.
It is. And there is the overwhelming, I call it overfunctioning. Maybe I don't think it's this. Maybe because he's socially as uncomfortable as I am. He just doesn't show it. Maybe it's a little bit of that autistic issues where you have a portion of your brain that is overfunctioning and a portion that's definitely not right or under, whatever you want to call it. And I'm telling you, John, we open that baby up, we're going to see things on the bad side that you don't want to see. Period. Okay, enough said on my part.
I'm shocked that I agree with Dale this much. I tell people all the time the way my brain works is a blessing and a curse, and it is. And yet I am still very thankful for it every single day. I also every single day like, why does this have to be this way? Do I think scientists need to study it? Probably not. I do think that I am a very unique individual. I like being compared to a unicorn, and so I'm good with that. Appreciate that compliment. But again, like I don't know how all this happens the way it happens and how I function the way I do in most situations. It's taken a lot of work to get here. I'm going to be real honest. It has not been just a real. It sometimes it has been a struggle. But if somebody wanted to study my brain that bad, I guess they could. I don't think it would do anything for them, to be real honest. As far as talking to the audience and stuff like that, I tell people all the time that if I actually looked at those animals, I would sound like Elmer Fudd. It'd be blah, 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 blah. That's all, folks. And because so many things would be flashing and whatever, it just would not work. I don't. It's funny that you brought this question up, and obviously, since I cackled like a 3-year-old schoolgirl when he read the first part of it, I had not heard it. But somebody asked me not this weekend, but a couple weekends ago. They're like, how do you know who to walk up to and talk to? Because it seems like more times than not, you walk up to the person, that animal that you're talking about. And I'll be real honest, I don't know everybody, but it's real easy if you pay any attention to figure out whose animals are whose, because of how people react and body language and all that other stuff. And so when I can figure out, or I've got a good hunch that the one in third or the one in second or the one in first is yours, yeah, I'm going to go talk directly to you because I want you to know that I'm speaking directly to you. I'm not afraid for you to hear what I have to say about your animal. So yes, I mean, that does happen. And I'm not saying I'm right all the time, but a lot of times, if I know or I have a hunch, I will walk directly up to that group or that faction and tell them exactly what I think about that animal and look them dead in the eye while doing it.
And it works, Ryan. It works. And on a serious note, and I like to give Ryan a hard time about his brain and over-functioning, under-functioning. Ryan, I'm not even sure. And I know you understand it and you acknowledge it and you accept it, you own it. But I do think sometimes it's hard for you. But the frustrating part is, it's hard for you to not understand why somebody else just can't look at something and it's just done.
It's a struggle. That part has been a struggle. But again, I only know how I operate and I function, and I clearly do not function the way most people do. So that part is a struggle for me, and it is something that I work on constantly every day. in all situations. So that part is there. That's why I say it's a blessing and a curse.
It's a good question, John.
God bless the scientists that like get into my brain if that happens. That's all I'm gonna say. Wow.
I'm not allowing it. I'm gonna stop that one.
There you go.
I have to apologize. We've had several sponsors that, as I put so much prep and organization prior to each episode, I kind of forget to put them in sometimes, Ryan. And we're gonna get better about that.
He's been saying this for a year now.
I do. I'm gonna write it down so I have it in front of me. We're good to go. But anyway, we like
for a year that we're gonna have sponsors and all this, and
Well, I just have to return those phone calls, and I have to make sure to remember to put. I'm gonna do better. That's. Remember, we're gonna go back to 2021 New Year's resolution. I'm gonna remember to put the sponsors in. With that, guys, it's been a little longer episode, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now. You hear?